What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down some other important things which are going to be very important going into tomorrow. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, let's break down what's happening to the market, guys. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late today, and I didn't really give you guys any intraday updates because I just wasn't feeling very well this morning. I just got basically no sleep whatsoever last night, and also this morning. I just did not sleep at all, and I just felt exhausted. So I gave you guys a morning update video about how the market had potential to push up. We had to watch some resistance on SPY. And then after that, the market held up quite nicely. We got this bounce that I was talking about yesterday. And then going into tomorrow, there are going to be some other important things to be talking about. So I'm going to quickly talk about just a couple of tickers, make this video very short, and I'm going to be resting up for the rest of today so that I can, be back to normal starting tomorrow. All right, but anyways, let's talk about the market. Let's talk about what's going on with the charts and all these pieces of news coming out. So for tomorrow, I just wanted to remind you all that tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, October 16th, and we have some interesting data. We have retail sales coming out in the morning, then we have some industrial data, and then we have some Fed speakers. We have Bowman from the Fed and Barkin giving some speeches later on. By the time the market opens, we're going to be seeing Bowman already speaking, and besides that, then we just have Barkin after that, and just some minor pieces of data, nothing too crazy in the morning. Most of the data is going to be coming up before the market opens, from the manufacturing to the production numbers. So that's pretty much like not super significant, but what's going to be more significant for the markets will be earnings, in my opinion. So for Tuesday, we have Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Johnson Johnson, just a couple of others announcing their earnings for the morning. If they end up doing like really, really well, this could pump the market to some extent, especially for Goldman Sachs. That's going to be a big one to be watching for the finance sector and also for the S&P 500. If we end up seeing a rug pull, this could cause the market to slow down a bit. If we end up seeing like Goldman Sachs getting a rug pull or something like that off bad earnings. So we're going to be watching these very carefully going into tomorrow, and earnings will affect how the market ends up moving. But what are some important levels to watch for on SPY? So looking at the setup, we basically had this resistance right here where we're looking like we were fighting right here in the morning. I told you all if we broke this would be very bullish. Watch SPY push up for 436. If we rejected, we see this thing come right back down towards 432. Instead, we ended up breaking out. We got a very, very nice push. And with that potentially going forward, the market got this very, very nice breakout. We formed this nice pennant on SPY for today as we started to see lots of sideways price action. So if we're bullish, it's going to depend on earnings. We have a bullish potential cup-like structure developing on SPY. There is a lot of potential for it to go up to 438.6. I do think the odds favor that, but we need to watch for confirmation going into tomorrow. So tomorrow, after the earnings come out, you want to be watching this move on SPY as we have a pennant. If we get a bullish breakouts tomorrow and you see this thing just kind of like push up like this, get a back test and just start pushing, and we break the high, we have to break and hold 437. If that happens tomorrow, I'm expecting a push up not just to 438, but potentially even 438.6 for a very, very nice push up like that before we just reject and trade sideways, right? But I do see a nice push up coming if we do get the breakout. I think it's more probable. This is looking like a bullish pennant as well. But just in case, if earnings are bad tomorrow from Goldman Sachs and all these other institutions, then we could see SPY in the market kind of like sink down if we break below 435.5. So like right here, which is where the very bottom of this pennant happens to be. If we break this, then we could see the market kind of like sink down towards 434.5 all over again. That could be coming. So that's going to be the more bearish case if we do get some bad earnings. What is more likely from a technical standpoint? In my opinion, this green line looks more probable. It looks more like SPY is going to try to get up to the 438s. We saw it hold up very, very nicely. We're seeing more buyers stepping in. So there could be one more pump coming until Tesla's earnings and etc. And we're going to be watching to see what happens as time goes on. So as a reminder, like I called out, Bank of America's earnings, Goldman Sachs, and etc. For Wednesday, right, in 2 days from now, we have Tesla's, Netflix, P&Gs, not to mention Morgan Stanley's earnings all coming out. So that's going to be more telling for everyone out there. But for now, we're just going to focus on these. We will see what happens on Wednesday when we see all these other earnings coming out. For the time being, we're just going to focus on Bank of America and Goldman Sachs as the two big ones for tomorrow. I just wanted to remind you guys about that. So this is what I'm seeing for SPY. The bullish case looks a bit more probable now, looking at this breakout that we ended up getting. But just to be safe, be open-minded and watch the support levels just to see based off what happens tomorrow. For the QQQ, I just wanted to mention that the QQQ has a very similar setup. We were talking about this thing potentially testing this area. I talked about how if we broke this resistance, we went over this case too, we would turn bullish and watch for 370. If we rejected off this trend line, we could have seen, a big rejection. We were talking about both possibilities on the QQQ. And instead, we got the break to the upside. We broke this trend line, which created this bullish case. So with that being said, we actually have a bullish wedge developing on the QQQ just like this, which is giving me more and more insights and a bigger amount of potential for this to start turning even more bullish. So you can actually break it down just like this. So when looking at this setup, we could see the bullish outcome develop as long as we end up breaking this resistance around this 370.5 area. If it breaks, I could see this thing pushing towards 371 to plus, and we could see even more upside towards this imbalance. We also have an inverse head and shoulders like structure. So the bullish case would be if we break 370.5, watch the QQQ push up towards this imbalance at 372, which is going to be the next level. The bearish case is if we get some bad earnings tomorrow and some bad news comes out, okay, we could see the QQQ break down below this pennant and start on this wedge that was forming, excuse me. And then, 368 is going to be coming. If we lose 368, it's going to retest this channel all the way down to potentially 366. That's the bearish case. The bullish case is going to be us basically breaking out like this, pushing out, and then just eventually making our way up to 372. So which direction am I personally leaning in? Based off this inverse head and shoulders and based off the current market, my guts tells me we're more likely going to see the green trend line play out. The upside seems more probable as long as we break this wedge. So once again, even though I can't really predict the earnings, I'm still leaning a bit more in that direction based off what we're seeing. Now, as far as Tesla goes, on the 1 hour time frame, there is a possible kind of like inverse head and shoulders like structure that developed on Tesla. And the full measured move could take it all the way up to 260. So we could see one more pump as long as it breaks this trend line. But we can't necessarily turn too bullish on Tesla until we break this white trend line. So watch this channel of resistance. If Tesla breaks this, if it gets above 255.5 and we see 257 coming next, I think it's not going to stop at 257, but it's going to push all the way up into the 260 area right before its earnings, as some last minute investors could be buying in. That's the really bullish case if we break this white trend line. So watch this white trend line as resistance. Now, the bearish case would be Tesla gets a rejection because of some bad news that comes out. Tesla kind of like pops like this, and we reject off this, and we start breaking down, and we make our way back down towards 250 or etc. That's the more bearish case. That's what would happen if Tesla gets bad news tomorrow and something really bad happens. My gut is telling me, however, from a technical standpoint, that Tesla's looking a bit more bullish off this inverse head and shoulders like structure. It's actually a little bit easier to see right here. Let me just show you it for 1 second. So if you look at the 30 minutes time frame, we have a very nice looking inverse head and shoulders like structure. You guys can see it right here. And the full measured move would take this thing up towards 260. So it looks more probable that like Tesla's going to try to break out, approaching its earnings just temporarily. And then we're going to see Tesla just continue to hold up. So I am leaning a bit more in that direction. But in order for this to play out, I mean to see Tesla break this white trend line that's acting as resistance. So watch that very carefully. We'll see if Tesla can break this or not. My gut is telling me Tesla's going to get that breakout. We're going to see this thing approach 260. But let's see if it can break this trend line. Now, to add on to this, we have Nvda stock, which is going to be very, very important. As far as Nvidia goes, I just wanted to mention that Nvidia got a nice breakout today. We were talking about a bounce yesterday. We basically started off at the bottom of this channel, then we broke out towards the upper trend line of it. And I think I could readjust this. I mean, you could technically draw out this a little bit differently, but it doesn't really matter. For Nvidia, if we're bullish, okay, you want to see Nvidia not only break this resistance right here, you want to see it break and hold 462. If it manages to achieve that, this imbalance, we're first going to see 465. And then if we break 465, the next imbalance would be around this 468 area. That's going to be my next target on Nvidia if we do end up getting that breakout. So that's going to be the more bullish case. If we break 465, watch 468 and then 470. And the bearish case is going to be, we get the rejection off this trend line. We end up coming back down towards this white trend line and we end up revisiting like 455. That's the more bearish case. But for now, I'm not really seeing much confirmation of the bearish case playing out. So I think the odds favor the upper resistance being tested. And I think 468 could be coming very, very soon. So I'm leaning more in that direction. I think we're going to likely see another pump for Nvidia. So I'm leaning more bullish. I think that it's very probable Nvidia is going to be breaking out towards at least 465. I think the odds favor this thing trying to push up. So watch resistance very carefully. Now, when we start off, it could start off a little weak. We could get like a rejection first and like a false break to the downside before it ends up reversing. So there is potential for Nvidia to start pushing higher. And it really is just switching. Now, just because it's pushing up, it doesn't mean it has to last forever, guys. Things could change by next week, over the next few days as earnings come out. But for now, Nvidia is looking a bit more bullish, and I do believe that there is potential upside that is very possible for it. Last but not least, let's talk about Aapl. What is Aapl doing? How is Aapl looking? So for Aapl, I just wanted to mention that we have a very, very decent looking structure now on Aapl. You could argue that Apple's forming a head and shoulders. If that's the case, if this is like some kind of like giant head and shoulders, with this being like the left shoulder, this being the head, and the right shoulder forming. Either way, if we are forming a right shoulder, there's still going to be more upside still coming before the right shoulder completes. And then you could also argue something else. You could also argue that Apple has an inverse head and shoulders. I think I remember seeing that. Let me just double check it right here. So looking at Apple on the 30 minutes time frame, you could argue that it has this inverse head and shoulders right here, which is going to bring it all the way up towards this 180 to even like at least 180 area. If we break 180, watch 182 as the next resistance. I think the odds favor upside as we have an inverse head and shoulders. So I think 180 is likely coming from a technical analysis perspective, and it's going to start pushing even higher. So the bearish case would be, we get bad news from earnings. Apple starts sinking towards support at 177.5. We break below that for 176. The bullish case is going to be us, continuing to push up towards 180, and we break 180 and we push up towards 182. Basically, that's going to be like the next level. So actually up here, before this thing ends up kind of like trading sideways, my gut is telling me that the green trend line, the green line I just drew out, is more probable, and we're going to see Apple push more. So we're going to be watching for that push up very, very closely, and I do believe the odds favor some upside on Apple. So we're going to be watching these levels very carefully. These are going to be very key for Apple's future and the way this thing ends up moving. So watch these levels. And I just want to make it clear, I think upside is quite imminent. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I wanted to make this one very simple, very short. I am sorry that I sound a little tired right now, but I will be back tomorrow morning. I'll give you guys much, 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 better content going into tomorrow. I'll be up early in the morning. I'll be sharp and back. I just need a little bit of rest first before anything. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. And please remember to take care of your own selves. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you and peace out.